Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. We've had quite a journey through Celtic knots, starting with this 4-loop or standard Celtic knot on this barbecue handle. With that, I was challenged to make a 3-loop Celtic knot on this back rub tool. With the process that we've developed now, we thought that any number of loops could be made very easily on a Celtic knot. So with that, in response to your input, I made a 5-loop Celtic knot on this perfect little ball. It developed quite a process. I'll explain that in a minute, but the limitations of the process are essentially that it depends a lot on the capacity of your smoothest cutting tool. I used a table saw to begin with, could get a 2.5 maybe inch capacity cut with the jigs in place on a table saw. On this last one, I moved to a chop saw thinking I might get a little bit more, but with the angle on it, it didn't buy me much more. Now you might have better luck with a sliding compound miter saw that gives you a little bit more capacity. Bandsaw to me is out of bounds because the cut is not smooth enough. Now, if that's good enough for you, go for it, but I don't think so. That will take more thought to develop a different or more refined process to do it with a bandsaw. So the process in review is to make a polygon with the number of sides equal to the number of loops in your Celtic knot. So this is for a triangle for a 3-loop Celtic knot. This is a pentagon for a 5-loop Celtic knot. Now when you make your triangle, you need to be able to fit your stock inside the polygon. Now I used square stock, and so it has to fit in here. Suggestion for the future, rough your stock round, then your polygon can be smaller relative to your stock. Now you're then making the same number of cuts as the sides that you have on your Celtic knot. The caveat that I have on that is that you're leaving just a sliver of wood to maintain the relative position of the 2 pieces of wood, or nearly 2 pieces of wood. I don't trust that to hold it, and I supplement it with a little bit of scrap wood to glued onto that edge with hot melt glue to supplement that so it doesn't break. So then cut it, glue it, cut it, glue it. Don't use CA glue, it's too brittle, it sets up too quickly, and we're off and running. So with that, I decided to make a Celtic knot into a ball using some very expensive jigs and tools for my perfect sphere or perfect ball. Those expensive tools consist of a homemade threaded faceplate that has a cup shape to fit the ball, and a rubber stopper, I think about $1.50 to $2 at the hardware store, but drilled out to fit my live center. So let's go for it. Let's do a 5-loop Celtic knot. Now, however, somebody said let's do 18 or more loops on the Celtic knot. I used 1/8 inch. Think 2 1/8 inch loops per loop, and then the circumference of the ball, say about 6 inches. If 2 loops 1/4 inch, you need a little spacing between, 1/2 inch. You can very quickly calculate that there might be a practical limit to the number of loops on your project for the size that you can get. Now up your saw capacity, you might be better off. So let's make now a 5-loop Celtic knot on a perfect sphere.
I've prepared paper templates with pentagon size to allow my project wood to fit inside it. This I've glued to plywood. I'm rough cutting the shape and sanding to the line. I must admit, this is a lot easier than trying to mill my wood into a perfect pentagon. Next, using a nail to align the center of the template to the center of the wood, I'm gluing the template to the project wood. Early on, I was tempted to align the wood to one of the sides of the polygon. That would put the Celtic knot into a very different perspective. Next, the saw and glue cycle. With this block of wood, I'm not trusting a thin sliver of wood to not break and mess up the project. So I've reinforced the to be thin side with scrap wood before cutting. This makes for an ugly project and process, but I only care about the final result, not how it looks now. First glue went well. I had a question about using CA glue. Never. Besides being brittle, it may set up too quickly for me to get everything together. As it is, I'm using Titebond Original Extend. For this, I need all the time I can get. The second of the 5 coats and re-glues goes on without incident. I also started numbering the sides of one of the pentagons to easily keep track of where I'm at. I need the same end each time and progress through the sides. However, the third cut and re-glue was a disaster. It was a very warm, humid day. I think my slice may have taken on some moisture and swelled just a touch. After spreading glue everywhere, I could not get the wood slice in place. I tried clamping, hammering, and tried to take it back out, all to no avail. What a mess! It's about 3/4 inch from where it should be. I seriously considered throwing this piece in the firewood pile at this point. Then I decided it would be better to see how it turns out as a proof of the process. I'll fill in for the missing wood with sawdust and CA glue later. What a disappointment. The fourth of the 5 cuts went well. I made a new spline that is a smidgen thinner. That and it's cooler again. The fifth and final cut and re-glue went well. Now, mounted on the lathe, I'm roughing out the spindle with a gouge. Since my miter saw did not have quite the capacity at an angle that I thought it had, I'm losing quite a bit of the diameter. That's disappointing. Next, I'll try to fix the gap left when the spline bound too early. I collected some maple sawdust to match the other splines, packed it into the kerf, and soaked it with thin CA glue. It darkened quite a bit. It's better, but still a disappointment. Now to center my ball. I've marked the top and bottom of the loops, measured and marked the middle. Then I measured the diameter and measured out from the middle both ways for a distance equal to the radius. This marks the top and the bottom of the ball. I'll shape the rest by eye using a gouge. Next, I've cut off the tendons and mounted the sphere onto a cup faceplate. In the past, I've used a cup faceplate on the tailstock, but I've decided to just use my rubber stopper on the live center. It's simpler and very easy to use. Mine is from a hardware store and drilled out to fit onto the threads of the live center, but no need to thread it. After marking the diameter at the wide part, the ball is rotated 90 degrees. I'm starting with a round nose scraper, but that's too aggressive after the first little bit, so I've switched to my skew, used as a scraper. I'll rotate twice more after marking the diameter at the last wide part to get my perfect sphere. I'm scraping off the high spots while leaving the old diameter pencil mark. I'll do the same rotation process with sandpaper for each grit up through 400 grit. With the final 400 grit, I'm sanding with my utility finish of beeswax and mineral oil, again rotating it 3 times. Now I don't mark the diameter since I don't want any marks left on the ball, but I is good enough, or do one more rotation if unsure. This is followed by a quick buffing with a BO buffing system. And there you have it, a slightly imperfect 5-loop Celtic knot on a perfect sphere. This has been an interesting experience for me. I've learned a lot, and I hope you have also. Thank you again for the comments and encouragement. Try one for yourself. Explore high loop counts. It may open up a whole new wood turning perspective. It used to be scary, but not with a good, simple process. As for Celtic knots on larger bowls, I'm afraid that will take more thought to come up with a process that can use a bandsaw. That's all for this week's video. Please like this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to both my website and YouTube channel. Always wear your full face shield. Goggles are not enough. Until next time, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.